Today on CityCast Austin, so recently the Austin American-Statesman's restaurant critic made a list of the city's 40 best bars. And y'all, as a native Austinite who loves our local bars, you know I had to give him my opinion on his picks. CityCast Austin is brought to you by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Tuesday, October 22nd. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here with Matthew Odom, restaurant critic and reporter for the Austin American-Statesman. Hello, Matthew. Thank you for being here with us.
Hey, good to talk to you.
Now, let's get into this list. You've been a restaurant critic at the Austin American-Statesman for years, and you know all about this town's food and drink scene, and you recently published a bar guide featuring Austin's 40 best bars. Now, I want to say, is it the best bars, period, or is it just like, this is 40 good bars, 40 of the best bars, and why 40?
Let's call it the best bars, and dirty little secret, if you count, it's 42, because as I was moving deck chairs around in the categories, a couple got misplaced, and so it's 42, but I think the headline says 40, so we'll call it 40 asterisk. It's a guide in the sense that I broke it down into categories, but you know, I think it's the best representation of who we are as a city. It kind of captures all angles. I didn't include live music venues that have bars at it. So Sam's Town Point or the Carousel Lounge, or I think Sahara, I didn't include. So things like that, I put kind of as a footnote at the bottom. So it's not those, and it's not bars inside of restaurants, though there is a category of kind of bar-restaurants that are kind of be considered a hybrid of a bar and a restaurant. But I tried to get it to capture kind of the high end, the low end, everything in between, all over town. You know, there's a couple places that aren't on here that are, you know, are a fancier place or maybe have won some more awards that, you know, maybe didn't strike my fancy this last time I was in there, or I felt we had enough of that category. But for the most part, I'd say, yeah, these are the best bars in town across a wide section of type of bars.
Okay, let's get into it, because let me tell you something. I had such a visceral reaction to your list, which I'm sure many, many people did, off top. So you only put 2 beer bars in there.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. I didn't include any brew pubs. So, like, no tasting rooms, no breweries. I spent a lot of time at Meanwhile Brewing. I spent a lot of time at Austin Beer Works and Zilker and Blue Out. So, you know, I got love for breweries, but there's no breweries in here.
Right. So what is your criteria to be considered a beer bar?
You know, I kind of reverse engineered it. I kind of wrote down my list, and then I was like, oh, this is big. You know, when I first wrote down my list off the top, I wrote down 70 bars without even looking at the internet. And I thought, man, my doctor would not be stoked right now.
Right.
I'm way too intimately familiar with way too many bars. But, you know, 70 might as well be 0, might as well be 500. So you want to kind of pinpoint it a little bit better. So I got it down to about 40 or 50. And then I thought, that's still a lot. So let's put them in categories somehow. And so really, I was just kind of making it up when I called them beer bars. But I think I put Crown and Anchor in there and Draft House,
right,
which Draft House could be considered a brewery, I guess. But I'm not drinking their beer you don't think of it as a brewery because you can't buy their beer elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Draft House is an institution. But what about Workhorse? Do you think Workhorse is a good beer bar?
Yeah, Workhorse is right there. I mean, Workhorse, Tigress, they were both kind of right on the cutting room floor. There's, you know, you have to stop at some point because, like I said, if I get to 60, all of a sudden, it's not helping anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I love Workhorse. I love their burger. I love the attitude there. I love the spot right there on North Loop and the neighborhoodness of it all. So if we had to add a third beer bar, I'd be happy to put Workhorse on there.
See, there we go. So I love that because in full disclosure, I don't even drink beer. So I should say that. I don't even drink beer. So she had so many opinions for something that she don't even drink.
That's amazing.
I don't even drink the beer. But I was like, what? So cocktail bars. I'm really curious about this one because I want to know what your definition of a cocktail bar is. Because for me, I'm like, it's only a cocktail if you have to like muddle something or stir something or shake
Right.
aggressively. Like if you're just giving me, whiskey soda, that doesn't feel like a cocktail bar to me. So what is your criteria for the cocktail bar?
I think that's a good way to put it. If you have one of those stirrers that they have to get fancy with when they stir it, or if you have to mix more than 3 ingredients, I'd say that's probably a cocktail bar. Now, I've got this kind of speakeasy in quotes because there's only probably like one actual speakeasy on here because speakeasies don't have websites and Instagrams. But I mean, well, it's just a marketing term, right? I mean, if it was a speakeasy, you wouldn't know. But I know a couple speakeasies in town that are actual speakeasies that you can't just get into. But yeah, the cocktail bars, I put a 4 or 5 on here. But all of those quote unquote speakeasy bars could probably be considered cocktail bars as well. But like Drinkwell, like you're getting, a Vieux Carré or a Perfect Manhattan or some kind of a daiquiri or some kind of a summer drink or something that has a shrub or a muddle or some fancy ice that's got some kind of a tincture that takes some kind of nice stirring that has a lemon peel that might have a flourish of a lit match at the end. So like you said, stuff you're not making at home. And then stuff, Las Perlas is on here, which is kind of a divey mezcal bar down on 7th Street. You're probably ordering, or at least I am, mezcal there and not as a cocktail. But you're getting mezcals there that you wouldn't just at your run-of-the-mill bar. So I kind of put them in that category.
It's so funny because when one of my favorite cocktail bars in the city, Boss's Office, just closed, and it's the first thing I thought about when I saw cocktail bars, and it's like, I am a sucker for all of the pomp and circumstance. Light some on fire, like get some smoke on top of my drink. Like I will pay you $22 for that.
Well, there's places that'll do that for you in Austin.
Yeah, I'm going to jump actually right to your speakeasy list because now you're making me rethink it. Because I was like, oh man, like I didn't see Malanga Room or Eden Cocktail Room or Retail Therapy or the Garage or Busy Signal or the Powder Room. I was like, I didn't see any of them.
I might not know Busy Signal.
So Busy Signal is behind the Victory Grill on East 11th Street. Uh-huh. Yeah, so they opened it back up. Victory Grill is opened up, and then when you go by the bathrooms, there's a wall with the payphone, and you push the wall, and there's a whole little speakeasy in there.
Okay, well, if I've been there, I was not sober enough to remember it, so I'm gonna have to go check that out.
But to your point, though, now that you actually have me reconsidering, if we all know about it, is it a speakeasy?
Well, do they have a website? Can you Google it?
I think you can absolutely Google it.
But those are pretty good. Like Malanga was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I included Treasury or not behind Shangri-La.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. And you kind of, you got to know that they're there in order to mess with them.
Have you heard or been to the Powder Room yet?
The Powder Room. Is that on 7th Street?
It's on, I feel like the 30 seconds that I've been talking to you, I feel like you would hate it. But so it's like...
You don't know. I like a lot of normal things or good things.
It's true. It's really bougie. So it's like on the corner of 5th and Lavaca, and there's the front of it is this place, Manny's, which looks like a coffee shop. Uh-huh. But then you go inside and you have to like check your phone.
Right. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they keep your phone in a lockbox, and then you go in, and it's this huge speakeasy that's giving like 1950s like
Art Deco vibes.
Art Deco with like, it's cute as hell in there. It's very, very, very cute. But they do the like 90-minute only kind of, you can only be in there 90 minutes, and they have all these.
Sure.
I think it's the closest we have to, because when you go on Google, you can Google them, but there are no photos. It's like the same 4 photos because they don't allow you to take your phones in there. So I think it's like the closest we have to just like, okay, we know this, but when you get there, there's nothing that says Powder Room. There's no signage. There's nothing. Yeah, you're making me rethink my criteria for speakeasies. I didn't think about that. If you can find it easily, that kind of does take away from it being a speakeasy.
Yeah, and if you can make a reservation at it like Midnight Cowboy, it's probably not a speakeasy. Though Midnight Cowboy is probably one of the more sneaky ones to find.
And I feel like they were the first that was on my radar for sure. So dive bars.
Hmm.
Let's talk about your criteria.
Yeah, that's a good one because I think I might have had a category called neighborhood bar as well, which was all kind of made up as well. Dive bar. What is the criteria that if you went in a shirt and tie, people might look at you kind of funny?
Yeah.
Although they'd probably do that just about
Yeah.
anywhere. A place where you're probably more likely to drink whiskey neat than as part of a cocktail. A place that probably has a pool table.
Yeah.
Or some kind of bar game. A place that has a really good jukebox. A place that still smells a little bit like cigarette smoke. You know, a place that has a shitty bathroom.
Shitty bathroom.
A place, you know, you would say a place that doesn't serve food, but, you know, Silver Medal's on here and they make a great little cheeseburger. So
I love Silver Medal.
You know, we've kind of got these somewhat stylized dive bars that are in town that have been popping up these days, which I think are kind of nostalgic openings from dudes and women, you know, my age or a little bit younger, kind of harkening back to a 70s that they remember seeing images of growing up in the 80s, or losing their fathers to. And so, you know, it's that kind of a vibe.
So the only one that I'm like, what is it was not on here. I want to know what you think about is Bender Bar. Because if Casino El Camino is on there, I feel like Bender Bar could be on there too.
Yeah, Bender Bar could definitely be on there. Definitely.
I love that I'm just campaigning. I'm just like,
well, that's all right.
What about Bender Bar?
Well, no, I know. Well, I think that's a good sign for Austin that we've got that many places that you could argue to be on there. And it's been around for, you know, almost 20 years. And it's in a part of town that doesn't really feel gentrified. It's hard to gentrify a highway. And so, yeah, it could be on there. And I think that's the great thing about this list is that it could be, you know, 100 deep and you could probably not find any faults with it.
Yeah, I feel like because I'm moving to the neighborhood bar because this is one, I mean, like.
What neighborhood do you live in?
I live on the east side.
What's your neighborhood bar?
My neighborhood bar personally is the VC, the Violet Crown, just because I've been going there since it was before it was the VC and it was Iron Gate. I just love it.
I love it too. And they pour strong drinks.
They pair, and
they're really nice. And it kind of feels like the kind of place where you might still see somebody accidentally smoke a cigarette inside.
Exactly. It happens all the time. But I'm super curious why Cheer Ups is on your neighborhood bar. I gotta know. Because
it really kind of was a neighbor, you know, it's an LGBTQ plus bar is how, you know, I generally think of it, but I wasn't going to create a category and kind of, you know, ghettoize it by putting it as one thing in its own category. And so I wanted it to feel part of, you know, a bigger community of bars. But, you know, it's been part of the LGBTQ community for more than 40 years. And it's kind of a Red River neighborhood bar, you know, and it's kind of a neighborhood bar in the sense that you think of community when you think of neighborhood bars. And I think they definitely, you know, Maggie and Tamara foster community at that place as well as any bar in town. And so, you know, it was kind of like where do we put this one on the list, but it's definitely not a cocktail bar. And you could almost say it's a venue bar and it should go down in the list with, you know, Mohawk and Continental Club and the other ones. But, you know, I'll definitely go have a drink there when there's not a show going on, which is what separated me from the venue bars versus the regular bars. So, you know, we can call it the Red River neighborhood, the sense of LGBTQ community of a neighborhood. But it was kind of like where do we put this bar amongst these categories? So, you know,
because
again,
it's just a
reverse engineering
bar.
It. Yeah, it's just a great bar that needs to be on the list.
Yeah, it has to be. Now, I will give you that. I'm going to also shout out to King B and the Wheel.
Yeah, love King B.
I mean, oh my God, love King B, love the Wheel. They do lean towards like this dive cocktail bar hybrid, which I like.
Yeah, King B was one of the great first hybrids of that kind.
Yeah, I love them. To me, a neighborhood bar is like it reminds me of Cheers. I think that's what it's like. Right. Everybody knows your name kind of thing. Right. I love, yeah, and I feel like Austin has so many of this. So I will agree with you. It had to be hard to chop down the neighborhood bars. It had to
Oh
be.
yeah, and a lot of
Yeah,
the neighborhood bars are also dive bars.
yeah.
And and I'm it's like I put the cloakroom on there, which you could call a speakeasy, but it's the Capitol neighborhood. It's the neighborhood bar for people that work at the Capitol.
So yeah, so like working bar, right? Outdoor hangs.
hmm
My standouts that did make it: Haymaker, La Holly, Little Darlin, either of the Luster Pearls.
I ran down to Little Darlin and Moon Tower the other night just because I was like,
Isn't it so? Oh God, Little Darlin is probably one of my favorite places in the entire city.
yeah, it's
It just
great.
is. So, is your criteria is more outside seating than inside for outdoor
Yeah,
hangs? Yeah,
yeah. And I think I can't even remember what all was on there. The new Cosmic, which is just a nice oasis kind of in the middle of
it's cute.
condo land over there.
Yeah, it's cute.
And the cocktails are good.
It's packed right now.
Is it really? Yeah, I was in there the other night, briefly, grabbed a taco. That was really good. But I love the kind of the outdoor natural awning citric trellis that they've got going on. It feels a lot more natural than than a bar in the middle of the city. I think I put Kitty Cohen's on there probably because of course you're going to try and sit around the pool if you're at Kitty Cohen's. What else did I put for outdoor hangs? Oh, Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, Yellow Jacket is a must.
Pool Burger. It can be a little bit much depending on the crowd and depending on how crowded it is. But I went in there the other day after going swimming, and I had a burger and a Mai Tai, and I just couldn't have been happier. I could have spent 5 hours sitting there watching football on the television.
Our newsletter editor Kelsey said Pool Burger is perfect. I still haven't been. I haven't been there. I need to go. But if Kelsey says it's perfect, then I'm going to go try it.
Yeah, you should go check it out.
Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they're handmade, high quality, and stylish. And they're comfortable right outside of the box. Now, I know we buy everything online these days, but trust me, you have to get fitted for some boots at Tecovas. Now, whether you're like me, a newbie to boots, or you have a closet full of them, the folks at Tecovas will help you find your next favorite pair. So, grab a friend, head on over to the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of you that live just a little further north. With 3 locations in town, you have no excuses. So, that's tecovas.com. TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. So, now Austin's a big city, fairly spread out, and we got stuff everywhere. Where were you trying to focus your list?
I wasn't trying to focus really anywhere. Most of it is in the middle of town or to the east side, a few bars in the south. Some of the newer bars, out west, there are no bars. And in Northwest, there really aren't any bars worth talking about. There's some cool, funky, weird bars. There's a bar on Palmer that's like a dive bar with pool tables, and you'll see like weird rock cover bands there. And it's great for football watching. And it's the perfect kind of nondescript strip mall bar that that probably deserves its own list of about 10.
Right on Palmer, kind of by where the police station is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Palmer Lane Tavern.
Yeah. I mean, I was in there the other night. I was just killing time having a cocktail before going to Tare, which is a high-end, hidden omakase restaurant, like a block from there. And I thought, I am definitely the only person in the history of Austin that has had Jack Daniels at Palmer Lane Tavern before going to Tare for an omakase. That's covering the waterfront.
So while you were thinking about this list, was there anything that you were surprised that you're like, oh yeah, I am going to put this on my list?
Yeah, I won't name names, but I was disappointed in a few places that had been around a long time as, either a dive bar or a cocktail bar. I'm thinking of 3 or 4 or 5 places in particular that were just kind of no-brainers off the top of my mind on the list. But I was like, I'm going to dip back in once or twice. And and just the service wasn't the same, the vibes weren't the same, and it just depends on what night you go, and things can be different. But it was kind of sad to feel like, oh, something's passed this place by, or this place doesn't have kind of the same love or the same crowd. And people make a place, whether it's the bartender or the crowd, and maybe sometimes places their crowd gets aged out, and now they're full of a bunch of people that just moved to town or staying at Airbnbs. It just kind of lacks some of the same spirit that they used to have. But I was also pleasantly surprised, almost shocked, at how many of the places on the list have been around a long time. Like, the places that have been like, oh yeah, Crown and Anchor has been around since 1987.
Yeah.
But then you're like, damn, Shangri-La's been around for almost 20 years, and the Grackle's been around for 15 years or whatever it is. And, if that was a restaurant, there's not a lot of restaurants that have been around more than 20 years in Austin, not a lot that have been around more than 10 or 15 years. And so to see some of these places still holding it down, despite raising rents, and despite changing demographics, and despite all the money, I was pleasantly surprised to see how many places have been around as long as they have, because really bars help. They feed the culture and the community, and they give a city a sense of place and character.
It's like it's the one thing that doesn't age in a weird way. It's like there's always going to be young people to come and sit at your bar.
Yeah.
So you don't feel comfortable telling us about your letdowns. Well, what about the most underrated bar then? Let's talk about that. Because I know you got some.
That Techo Mescaleria on Manor Road, which is behind Mi Madres, which has been in that family for 30 years and now is being run by the second generation. They have that Mescaleria upstairs, and it's such a cool little hangout. You feel like you're in, From Dusk Till Dawn, or, some Robert Rodriguez movie. You feel like you're in an old Western. So I love that. I love Small Victory.
Love Small Victory.
Yeah. I mean, it's small and it's tucked away, and I wonder, if people know about it. And, in some of these places that you've talked about, like, whether it's Instagram or some kind of word of mouth amongst a certain set of folks, and, they kind of get their own cultish following. Small Victory, I don't think, was ever trying to make bones off anything except their cocktails and their service. And they weren't trying to be, they weren't stunning. It wasn't like they were trying to be something.
Listen, I'm going to do a shout out to Small Victory because they have still, I had one of the best daiquiris I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
At Small Victory. And I have been consistently over several years, I've been going to Small Victory. Their cocktails are just top tier, and their service is top tier, period.
Aren't you a bourbon drinker?
I am.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So where's your favorite place to drink whiskey in the city?
Ooh. Now, see, It was Boss's office here recently. They was getting a lot of my money. I won't lie to you. I was surprised that they closed, because I'm like, I'm not keeping y'all in business because they're getting all my money. You're going to laugh at me, but one of the best old fashions that I have had, like, in recent memory, I had at this place that just opened up called Cabana Club, and it's on 7th Street. And it was a Basil Hayden old fashioned, and it was delicious. It was perfect. And that just is so hard for me to find a perfect old fashioned. And I got it at this Cabana Club on 7th Street.
It's over there by Holiday, like Far East 7th.
And that's why I love Austin, because you go, I had an old fashioned at Whistler's. It was terrible. Once. It's like there's certain places that people tell you to go, and it's about the staff. It doesn't matter what kind. To me, it doesn't matter what kind of booze you have if the staff don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying Whistler doesn't have fantastic staff, so don't come for me. That was one time.
That was Nikki. That wasn't me.
Talk about cult following. That was one time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real fancy cocktail bar here in town that I won't name that I went to recently. And speaking of staff, like, they just seemed a little too cool, And nobody should be making somebody feel. I don't want to feel like I'm in a bike shop.
Right.
Nowhere makes me feel worse than being in a bike shop. and I also was at another place that ended up on the list. I ordered a Vieux Carré, which is kind of my go-to cocktail. And when I ordered it, I was just trying to make conversation, and I was just waiting to go have dinner somewhere down the street. And I said, I was like, why is it that you guys serve it up? And he's like, oh, because that's how it's served. That's how it's created. And I was like, oh, no, but I think at the Carousel bar at the Monteleone in New Orleans where it was invented, it's served on the rocks. And he was like, nope, in an orange peel, what it does is it mitigate. And he just talked to me like an asshole. And I was like, okay, well, one, I don't need the attitude. I was just trying to have a conversation with you. And two, you're wrong, but I wasn't going to push back on it. And then I posted an Instagram photo of my stories the other day of the recipe from the Monteleone's website. And I circled on the rocks, and then I didn't put anything else. And I'm sure he doesn't follow me, but that's how petty I am.
That's how petty you are.
Or at least how petty I was the other night. But yeah, my point being, like, yeah, what they do is smart and hard, and it's difficult to make a balanced cocktail, and it's difficult to make 500 of them in a night. And we should respect the craft and respect the booze. But like, let's not be jerks about it. Like,
Right.
Let's not make things so pretentious that like you can't just have a good hang. Like, I don't need to feel like I'm on a movie set.
We know what I have found. I think that I like Fernet, and there's a cocktail called a Midnight Stinger that this guy named Damon made for me, I don't know, 3 years ago. And now I'm hooked. And and so like everywhere I go, I'm like, can you make me a Midnight Stinger? But it's a really easy. It's 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, right? So Fernet, bourbon, lemon juice, and then simple syrup. 1 to 1 to 1. It's super easy. So sometimes if I'm at a place and it's not busy, I'll ask, right? And the response always tells me what kind of night it's gonna be. It's like,
right.
It always tells me if I'm at a place where this is like a quintessential Austin place, or if I'm at a place where maybe I should not come back.
Right.
And typically I find that like if it's like an Austin spot, like true Austin spot, the 9 times out of 10 the server is like, oh, well, shit, I ain't doing nothing right now. Yeah, I'll try it. Yeah, right. I'm gonna ask you when you're not doing anything.
Are you okay with somebody looking up a recipe on a phone and trying to make it
yes.
to spec if they don't know it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be your guinea pig.
Yeah.
I'm not tripping. Yeah, of course.
And then they can, and they like it because if they can figure it out, then they add it to their tool bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a restaurant the other night and I ordered a Vieux Carré, and she's like, ooh, I haven't made one of those in a minute. And she pulled it up on her phone, which I totally fine with. And she made a killer drink, and now she's got it as one of her go-tos next time somebody sits down.
I love it. So what kind of advice do you have on how to find your favorite bar in Austin? Because we got a lot of out-of-towners.
I think just like you do when you're in any city is you talk to bartenders and you talk to servers, go to a part of town that you're staying in, or go to a popular part of town and, have a drink or two at 1 or 2 bars. And when you like the vibe of the person that you're dealing with, just ask them, where do you like to eat? Where do you like to drink? And they'll tell you, because they know everybody and they know everything, unless they're one of the new people to town. Then they probably can't help you. Otherwise, I say just go to statesman.com/bars, and then you'll get that list.
Done and done.
You want to find a local. Unfortunately, I'm older now, so I don't go out just for drinks the way I used to. I still go out to eat all the time, of course, for my job, but I don't go out just to the bars the way I used to. But, I lived in Zilker for a long time, and I didn't have a regular really in my neighborhood. We ended up going to the Gibson Bar pretty regularly.
Love it.
And, that was a place that didn't have much going on at first. And it kind of seemed weird, like it wanted to be a hip cocktail bar. And then I think it kind of just became a neighborhood bar. And I just ordered whiskey and soda there. But the staff was really cool. And all my friends lived in Zilker. And so we just kind of rendezvous there. And there was a good food trailer there called Luke's Inside Out. And then I think it kind of changed over the years. And so it became, less of a regular hang. But my point being, when I moved just, on the edge of the Greenbelt in Southwest Austin about 5 years ago, and now I've got a wife and 2 kids, and like there's not a bar there, but like you can make a regular haunt out of something unassuming. So there's a taco place down there. Oh man, or a Mexican restaurant now called Cruz Teca, and it used to be Malizo's Tacos, that trailer that was on South First Street for years. And now they have a restaurant called Cruz Teca. It's run by the same family. And they've got this little 4-person bar inside their taqueria, or inside their restaurant. It's not a taqueria. And you can sit down and have a great frozen or, on the rocks margarita there. And there's a television. You can watch a game. And it's like, in a way, that's kind of a local bar. So you can kind of create, you can kind of create a local hang.
That's cute.
Anywhere you look.
So my final question for you is like, how would you describe Austin's bar scene to an out-of-towner?
I'd say generally it's really laid back and friendly. We have a premium on kind of off the beaten path kind of places. Some of these little speakeasies, whether it's, Treasury or whether it's the Mescal Bar above Whistler's. Austinites always like to be in the know. I think it's trending a little glitzier and cornier because of some of the people that are moving here and the money that's moving here and the reason some people come here for their, 30th birthday party or whatever kind of thing they might be looking to get dressed up for. But it's kind of a dressed down city that appreciates quality and warmth.
That's the perfect way to end that. I love it. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for letting me go back and forth with you about your list.
Yeah, I love it. No, I haven't had anybody question me this much on any of my opinions, maybe in my life, and so I'm glad I wasn't prepared for it.
Thanks for letting me campaign. But also, you've totally changed my mind about the criteria for speakeasies.
Yeah, I'll tell you offline where the one true speakeasy I know is here in town. We'll go drink a whiskey sometime and continue to compare notes.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Matthew's guide and his social media in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.